Winning isn't everything. It's the only thing.
Welcome to the show. Tired of the hype about living the dream? It's time for truth. This is the place for tools, power, and real talk so you can create the life you dream and deserve. Your ultimate life. Subscribe, share, create. You have infinite power.
Well, welcome to this episode of Your Ultimate Life. I've heard that phrase, winning isn't everything, it's the only thing, before, and I can't remember the first place I heard it, but it's spoken or unspoken. It seems like the truth, right? Nothing matters if you win. You watch the political nonsense unfolding in the United States. Now, Joy and I are in Canada, you know that, and it doesn't seem to matter. It doesn't matter who dies or who says what to whom. The only thing that matters is winning. And this isn't, I don't do politics on this show because I don't think that discussion is what leads to your ultimate life. Creating your ultimate life is about purpose, prosperity, and joy. Now, joy is an inside job. You can have joy anytime you want. You don't have to wait till the next election or the next pay raise or the next result from an x-ray or a cancer screening or anything else. Joy is a constant choice, and you can have it all the time. Today I started with winning because I titled this episode, The Hidden Cost of Winning. What does winning cost? Well, first of all, you have to define winning, right? More money, I got more money. Okay, got it. And it is endless. In fact, cliche, when you have one parent, historically it was usually the man, but it doesn't really matter, working, and the other partner and the kids say, but we never see you. I'm doing all this to provide for you. What we really want is some of you, that conversation has gone on all the time, and you've heard it. But I want you to think about something for a minute. Every new car, and I'll use a new car as a euphemism for anything, extra vacation, boat, addition to the house, replace all the appliances, tuition to a better school, or, whatever it is. Everything that you or I buy, right, has a price tag on it. And the price tag is often in dollars, in the U.S. or euros or whatever, wherever you live. But it isn't about that I want to talk about. What it is in hours usually, because it takes your time to create money. Now, I am fully aware and fully on board with passive income and with recurring income and that sort of stuff, and that's a different discussion. But by and large, to create money, it takes some effort, and that means some time. Well, that's fine. And so you might think, well, it takes an extra 100 hours this month to do thus and such. What I would rather have you think about in terms of the receipt, like the thing you buy, the new car or the fridge or the vacation or the new set of golf clubs or whatever it is, has a price tag on it, $2,000. If it's golf clubs, $4,000, whatever. I think I bought a set once, it was $3,000, so $3,000. But that was years ago, so maybe it would be $5,000 now. I don't know. But that's the price tag we think about it. We walk in a car lot and we look at the sticker price. But that isn't really the price. It isn't the price we want to focus on today, because today we're talking about the hidden cost of winning. So if you turn that tag over, then it's translated into hours. How much effort and energy? How many sleepless nights? How many times working late? How many times, if you're an entrepreneur and you do stuff online like I do, and like many of you do, how many hours, or days, weeks, months stuck in the basement where you don't come up and have dinner, or you do and then you dive back, downstairs or in your study or wherever it is to work, and don't knock on the door, don't bother me, and on and on and on, right? You know that. That isn't even the price tag. If that's one side, and the other, if you peel it open, you know how some labels peel open? There's a third price tag. And this is the one I want to talk about for a minute, because today we're going to tally the invisible bill. That price tag in the middle says 10 missed soccer games, 27 missed teacher conferences, 15 missed band concerts, 57 times you have to say, I'm too busy, I can't talk to you right now. That's the hidden cost of winning. So it isn't the dollars, because you can earn money. There's no question. You can earn however much money you want. I believe it. I know it. You're capable. The thing I want you to think about is not even the hours that it takes, but what happens in those hours. The missed report cards, the missed band concerts, all the things that I just listed. How many of those are there? And then when you get done and you look at the new, whatever it is, car, boat, trip, vacay, something, and we get to move to a new neighborhood, better schools, whatever it is. And you look at that and say, is it worth not even the hours, but that price tag in the middle that really lists the cost in relationship? So one is the dollar cost. The other side is the hours cost. And the price tag that's the one that hurts is the one in the middle. When you peel it open, that's the relationship cost, right? And that's legendary too. I mean, how many movies or books have you seen or read where it talks about estranged or difficult relationships because one parent or the other was never there, never connected, chose not to learn how to be a parent? Now, let's talk about something for a minute. Being a parent doesn't come with a manual. And even if you had great parents that were models and would have won a prize for parenting, they still suck in many ways because we don't have a manual. And even if you had a model of good parents before, you still have different circumstances and different ideas and different externalities, different teacher schools, neighborhoods, jobs, requirements. And so we do things differently. So the question is, are you willing to take the time to learn what is the most important thing you'll ever do? The most important thing you're ever going to do is raise kids. Leave an imprint on that 1, 2, 3, however many you have, and their future generations. I know, I see the same things on TV you do. I saw a candidate in some state in the United States. Like I said, we're in Canada, but a state in the eastern U.S., Tennessee, I think. And she said, I don't want kids, I want power. Well, you can go get that. But when you get done with your life, nobody ever laid on their deathbed and said, I wanted more power. Always they say, I wanted deeper relationships, I wanted more love, I wanted more connection. 100% of the time. So since we know that, and that's wildly documented, what prevents us from making that change now instead of when we're dying and it's too late to fix? When what we're doing is feeling bad and begging forgiveness instead of, enjoying the fruits of the truth of relationships. The only thing that matters is relationships. And so if you redefine winning as powerful relationships, if you redefine winning as having love and tenderness and closeness and depth of feeling and those kinds of things, then that's the thing to win at. And there is a cost to that winning too. I'm not pretending that cost or that winning's without cost. There is a cost in winning anything, and the reason is because it takes some work to get good at it. Now, I was just before recording this, I was over in the recording studio working on a concert. I'm going to start doing concerts online. And by the time this episode goes out, which is first part of January, it'll be right close. I'm going to start doing them in January, and I'm going to do one a month, and most every 2 months as we get ready and start opening the university. This Ultimate Life Uni. I don't think that URL's live right now, but it will be soon. And it is the Ultimate Life University. And there's going to be 4 complete schools in that university. The first is going to be the School of Transformational Authorship and Creation. Now, for probably 12 years now, I've been helping people write books. I think I did my first book challenge in 2013. Maybe 12, but whatever, somewhere way back there. And I've been doing different kinds of that challenge ever since, helping people write their books, get them published, on and on. And but it's one thing to write a book, and it's another to understand how to write a book that changes lives, how to write a book that really matters. I see all kinds of, I saw a book, how to write a book that sells you. Again, superficial. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not dissing the book, but it doesn't get to the core of life. There's a idea going around that, okay, if I have enough money, then I can afford to go be a do-gooder. But I got to get the money first. That is backwards. Joy comes in service. Money comes when you're true to yourself and you find and live the authentic expression. And I know that's a cliche, but I don't know what other words to use. The real you, like you and I were divine beings. We came with gifts and talents. And when we fully express those, including the stumbles and the bumbles and the hardship and the falling on your face and the resilience and recovery, that's something that's worth something. I don't care what else you sell. I don't care how much money you make. Your most powerful gift, tool, and opportunity is the story of your own becoming. So that's the first school. It opens in January, the School of Transformational Authorship and Creation. And I added the words "and creation" because it isn't just about authorship or writing a book that changes millions of lives. It's about then creating follow-on opportunities. Maybe there are products, maybe there are services, maybe there's speaking, maybe there's lots of things. So that's why it's the School of Transformational Authorship and Creation. The second school is going to be the School of Transformational Coaching, because following on the book I just released a month ago, Coaching and the Rise of AI, and if you're a coach and you haven't read it, you're missing the boat. You need to read Coaching and the Rise of AI. It's going to explain two things. One, exactly how and when you're going to be out of business. How and when this astounding technology, AI, is going to put you out of business. Or it's going to also explain a model of coaching that you can adopt that's AI proof, that is invincible and invulnerable to the advances of that rapidly expanding and growing artificial intelligence, we call it. And I discovered that because I was concerned about it, and I love coaching and I love coaches, and most of my clients aren't that, but some are. And I've realized the coaching models in service today don't work with AI. They'll be outdated. They'll be pushed out of business for the most part. I think there'll be 5% left that'll be in high demand, big money, and anyone can go there, but it takes a lot of work, just like getting good at anything does. So that's why the School of Transformational Coaching is second, and that'll probably be at the end of Q1 next year. The third one is the Transformational School of Leadership and Business. And again, I use the word transformational in front of them. It's because we have to change who we're being in the world. We got to change how we're showing up. We got to change the way we behave to each other. We got to change, and it starts with us. It's not they and them and elections and government and all that crap. It starts here. Gandhi, be the change you want to see in the world. That's not only good advice and a cute aphorism, it is eternal truth. That is the most powerful thing we can do. So that's the third one, and the fourth one is the School of Personal Sovereignty. And that's a deep and very, very, very intense curriculum. But anyway, so that is something that I'm doing, and that's going to take a lot of hours and effort. So when you talk about the hidden cost of winning, I have counted that cost. I have spoken at deep length with my partner, my love, my angel Joy, and all the things we're doing and want to do, and she's all in. So we have chosen to open this university with these 4 separate schools, phased in over the next year in January, starting in January and then going through the year. And that's what I'm doing, and I count that cost. But that is going to have a huge receipt attached to it. The hours, the effort, the soul searching, the coaching, the failures, falling on my face, etc. So when you think about the wins that you want, every win has a cost. First of all, you need to know what you're going for. If it's just, I need to figure out a way to make more money, that's a miserable way to live. There's always going to be a way to make more money, and you're always going to be a sucker for every scheme that comes across your awareness, whether it's online or somebody says something. Oh, yeah, we can make a boatload of cash doing whatever, XYZ. And it doesn't ask the question, what's your skill set? Do you like it? Is it in line with what you feel motivated to do, how you want to help in the world, et cetera, et cetera? Because if all you do is have a job, we all know that 85% of people don't like their jobs. And the reason's simple. They don't feel it's fulfilling. They don't feel like it is the fulfillment or the actualization on Maslow's hierarchy. They don't feel like it really matters, like it's making a difference in the world. And we all want to do that. That's built into our DNA. You want to make a difference in the world, and so do I. We all share the feeling of inadequacy and the yearning to matter, right? We deeply desire to serve and deeply fear judgment and rejection. So that goal has to be clear for you. Then you're in a position to ask about the receipt. What's it going to cost? Well, if you want to accomplish a goal that matters in the world, in terms of making a difference, making things better, reducing pain and suffering, as well as making good coin. I'm not pretending everybody's got to be poor. Big cash is required for big change. There's no question. Okay, so I want to talk for a minute about deals that we make. That first starts with tiny compromises. Won't matter if I miss this. Or maybe a compromise in ethics. Man, it won't matter if I tell a little lie or cheat a little. Won't matter if I don't quite do this to spec. Right? And that's not true. It does matter. Every one of those adds a scar and a mark on your soul. Every one of those rips a little more of your heart out until you get like, there's a poem called The Man in the Glass, and it's a beautiful poem. You can read it, and the final line is, your final reward will be heartache and tears if you've cheated the man in the glass or woman. So we don't want that. Nobody wants to have those kind of regrets, and you don't need to. So I don't care what's come before. This is an invitation for you to assess the cost of winning. Because what I said to start with, to catch your attention, winning is the only thing, right? No, it's not. If we win at the cost of our soul, our integrity, feeling good about ourselves, having to hide from people, not wanting to admit the truth of what we have or haven't done, that is no way to live. I know that from personal experience. It's miserable, it's horrible, and it leads to dark places. And none of them are labeled happiness. So I want you to think about compromises. I want you to think about compromises you've made. There was a time in my life when I have more than one time when I have come face to face with that and have had to answer the question. Look, and it's not even a question, but sit in the truth of, look what I traded. Look what I traded for the success I created. And it wasn't happy. Starts with little things and then goes to terrible things. And it starts with missed dinners and ends in failed relationships. It starts with missed relationship building time with your kids and ends up in estrangement. Okay, those things are real and painful, and they don't need to happen. So I have lived that truth. I don't live that way anymore, and there is nothing that I will compromise. Nothing. And you know, there's a way to make sure you know what that is and that you keep that promise, because that was a hard thing for me to learn. Because I was so used to making excuses. I was so used to excusing this for that. So I want to talk about the mask we wear. I've heard people say, well, you know, I ask them, who are you? And they'll say, well, which me? And I'll say, well, what do you mean? And say, well, the dad me is this, and the work me is that. And, you know, they list roles and how they are a different person. I used to do that too. And in fact, I used to believe it was necessary. I have to act a certain way at work and a certain way at home and a certain way, and that externalities defined who I was. That's not true. It's fundamentally at odds with eternal truth. Let me tell you what I mean. There are certain things that we do different. When I'm at church playing the organ for congregational worship, I don't break out in a jazz improv in between speakers. That's not what that is. That doesn't change who I am inside, who I really am internally and completely and through and through. So there are situational behaviors. Okay, if I'm sitting in a meeting at work, I don't have a job anymore, but even as a consultant, if I pull out a book and start reading the latest, John Grisham novel or something, even if I want to, those things aren't going to work well in those contexts. So in that way there is, but you're not a different person. And if you are, you're a fake. One of them isn't real. And I invite you to consider, what is the real you? I have chosen to solve that by writing a declaration of who I am. I call it a PTAC, personal truth document. And I talk about how to build one of those in this book, Living with Purpose and Power. And I would really recommend you get that, just because that's not a book marketing thing, although sure, buy some books. But every one of those books I've written because it was hard-fought, blood on the floor learning about the hidden cost of winning. And so having gone through that work, I now know exactly who I am every day, whether I'm at church, whether I'm in a meeting, whether I'm in the grocery store, whether I'm upstairs with my wife, whether I'm down here alone, making this for you or doing other things. I know who I am because I've declared it and said it, and I own it. Not anyone else's, to impress anyone else. So losing ourselves in the mask is a way of saying image management. I had that disease terribly. I needed, or felt like I did, to be perceived a certain way in my executive career. And, as I was a consultant, those kind of things, I needed to be thought of a certain way. And I did whatever I had to maintain that image. And it was not good. The outcome was not good. Some of the behaviors were not good because I needed to manage that mask. And that's terrifying. Because at the end of the day, I remember coming home from work one day and going in my study, and in the closet in the study is where I had the liquor cabinet. And there were a lot of liquor in there. And so as I had a bottle in one hand, I remember saying to myself, you can put me in my 3-piece Armani and I can go downtown and I can be anybody you like. But when I get home and turn the lights out, I don't know who I am. That's managing the mask. I can be anybody you need to be. I thought of myself as a method actor, that gets completely buried in the part. That's a disaster. And it's exhausting because you're performing all the time. So when you come to grips, I've spent a good bit of time describing the different ways we ignore the cost of success. I want to talk with you about what to do about that, because it's one thing to just call attention and say, the old robot, danger, danger, danger. It's another thing to say, okay, what am I going to do? So step one for any problem is awareness. Like, if you have cancer, it's a lump. Oh, I have a lump. I might have a problem, right? So awareness is the start, but there has to be a companion thing. And that is, you have to do that without judgment. I used to aware, I did this. Oh man, I suck. I'm a disease. I'm a disaster. And then I would go on a rampage of, ripping myself apart, but nothing would change. So awareness is the beginning, but it has to be without judgment, because you are where you are. And if you call it out and hate yourself for it, I promise all it does is make it harder to change. And ultimately, you'll quit. You can't change into that environment. When we're doing something difficult, and believe me, changing old habits is difficult, we have to have encouragement. I got a friend, former client, who, I don't know if he originated this, but he says, people need encouragement more than they need advice. I love that phrase, and I just think it's beautiful. I think it's true. A lot of times we know what we ought to do, right? It isn't that we don't know what to do. It's that we don't do what we know. So if you find yourself in that, image management and not counting the real cost and putting things off or missing them that you know you're going to be sorry later in the, under the guise of either providing or, making yourself feel good or managing your self-worth or anything else, got to have another boat, or another car or another million in the bank for your self-worth. Right now, you're a dead person walking. And death will catch sooner than you want. And just first, let's be aware without judgment. So just observe what you're doing. Observe the language and excuses you have. Don't indict. This is not a grand jury. So observe. Okay? That's the first thing. Just look at it and catalog it. This is what I'm doing. I'm making these excuses. I'm using this as a reason to not do something. And especially the first 1,000 or 2,000 times, we feel a little guilty. Oh, I wish I was, but I have to, that kind of language. Just listen and make a note. Okay? Now, the second part of that is after you observe, forgive yourself. There's absolutely no reason to carry around a boatload of judgment for yourself. Forgiveness for everyone I have found to be the smoothest and easiest and fun way to live. So I carry no anger, frustration toward anyone for anything. Not the grump on the road, not the person who hates me on social, none of it. I am forgiveness. With compassion, grace, and patience for everyone, for everything, including myself. I've chosen to be that way because I think life's a lot more fun. I didn't used to do that. Again, that was another choice. So after you become aware without indictment, the next thing is just forgive yourself. Whatever I did before, I forgive myself. I am in charge. I'm the king. I'm the ruler. If you're in the United States, I'm the president. I can issue a pardon. I pardon myself for that. Now, part of that is there's three parts to it. One is if you can fix any of it, do that. Fix it. Often things can't be fixed, and someone else accepting an apology or whatever doesn't matter. We just, fix it if you can. The second and most important thing is change who you are. And that's what we're talking about. Notice and forgive yourself, and then let's get to work on the change. I am no longer a person who feels guilty because I'm trading this for that, ignoring relationships and people in my life, ignoring God, my partner, my kids, myself, not even taking care of myself. Why? Because I gotta do this other thing, and we grind ourselves to death. That's not worth it. Winning at that cost is a mistake. It is a failure. Now, obviously, everything I'm saying is my opinion, but it comes from now decades of personal experience and working with hundreds, perhaps even thousands of people, exploring their lives, listening to the stories, and seeing patterns develop and play out over and over again, all going to the same dark tunnel. Okay, so the other thing is, remember, when you wear a mask too long, you're not wearing a mask anymore. It starts wearing you. And that makes it sometimes hard to observe. But regardless of that, take some time to reach into your heart and decide what you want to be known for. You could say, well, that guy was 61 at all costs. Well, if you decide that is your true badge of honor, then this message isn't for you. But if you're one that wants to be remembered and the comments about you when you're not in the room, you can always depend on him. He always tells the truth. He's always ready to lift and encourage others. Man, I love working with him. And things like that. Or your spouse, always listen, always there for me, helps me understand, doesn't, judgment, doesn't jump in my face, always willing to lend a hand. You got to decide what the phrases are you want to be actually true, not pretend. Because if your behavior or mine, if our behavior is contrary to that, we're just fooling ourselves, because we're certainly not fooling the universe, and we're not fooling anybody else. We're not fooling God. So we're the only fools here. And this is an invitation to spend some time alone. Now, a lot of people talk about meditation and that, and they teach it involves and a bunch of other stuff. Forget all that. I mean, you can do it if you want to, but spending some time just thinking alone in the backyard, sitting on the edge of your bed in a chair for at least a half an hour, maybe an hour, and just go over your life, the different pieces, your personal health, your finances, your relationships, your marriage if you're married, your kids, your job, your performance, your attitude, how you behave in the grocery store to others. Think of examples over the last week or 2 or 3 and get a picture of who you are, because that will let you decide, I really like that. Or, yeah, I hope nobody's watching that movie. That's a sad place to be. I know. I've been there and had to then say, you know what? The next question is, what do I need to do? Because after you forgive yourself, because it doesn't do any good to, remember Dobby, the house elf in one of the Harry Potter movies, I've forgotten which one now, 2 or 3 or something. He shows up in Harry Potter's room and, he tries to convince Harry not to go back to Hogwarts and prevents him from going through the bricks on platform, whatever. But anytime Dobby makes a mistake, he's got to beat himself. He picks up a book and smashes his head or bangs his head against the wall. That's what we're like when we're critical of ourselves. And I can promise you that doesn't bring us to change. It reinforces shame and worthlessness. So be aware, no judgment, forgive yourself, right? Because from a place of forgiveness and love and encouragement, you are way better equipped. So then start with one little thing you can do. Maybe there's a little restoration you can make. Maybe there's a reach out. Maybe there's an olive branch. Maybe there's a conversation you can have. This is, I've been doing this behavior, whatever it is, missing this, not acknowledging this, being unkind here. I've decided I don't want to be that person. So I'm going to try, starting right now, to be something different. So if you see something different, you're free to tell me. And I'm asking your patience while I work on that, because I've really decided this set of behaviors isn't who I want to be, not what I want to be known for. Now, if you've done this before, you're going to meet with skepticism. Yeah, right. We've heard that before. That happened to me in a very, very painful way. When I was a drug addict, I had several of my children living with me, and I told them I was quitting some particular substance. And they said, well, we hope you do, but we don't believe you because, same thing. We've done that X times before. And it was true. Many times was right. And so when I finally did get completely clean, it was 5 years before they stopped actively disbelieving and saying I was lying and hiding. So you're going to have some of that, but that's not your journey. Your worth doesn't depend on someone else's acknowledgement. Neither does mine. So forgive yourself and pick one thing to start with just right now, a thing you can do immediately, because you got to start somewhere and you don't have any choice about where that is. It's right here, right now, with what you have, right? You can't start somewhere you're not. You can't start, like if I'm in Denver or if I'm in Miami, but I'm pretending I'm in Denver and I say, I'm going to go to New York. I'm pretending I'm in Denver, so I'm going to go straight east. But because I'm actually in Miami, I'm going to drown somewhere out in the Bermuda Triangle. You can't pretend you're somewhere you're not. I can't either. So start where you are, forgive yourself, and take one step. Just one. And take one more tomorrow. And congratulate yourself on every little thing. Right? And that's the way to begin to identify this cost. The one thing might be, I'm going to attend this game. I'm going to this teacher conference. I'm not going to lie about that assignment. I'm not going to hedge or fudge about my taxes. Whatever it is, you can say, I'm not going to do that. And the one thing, that first thing is so important, because the old saying, a journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step. Well, of course it does. And that first step is the critical step. because it also makes the next one easier. I did that. I made it. I took a step, an actual real step, even if it was little. So start small, keep your word, and do that. All right, now here's another couple of things I want to talk about in the last few minutes here. While you're in the process of every day doing some kind of reach outs, some kind of apology, some kind of rebuilding, whether it's the way you talk to yourself or what you've done or not done for others. And I want to say something about that again. One of the hardest things for me was to clean up my internal dialogue, the anger and frustration I felt toward myself, because I wasn't all that. I didn't like the cost of winning. So I was harsh on myself, and that internal dialogue was horrible. That internal stuff's got to get cleaned up too, because you and I were never going to rise above the level of our self-opinion. Hear that. We're never going to rise above the level of what we think of ourselves. Nobody can behave consistently in a manner that's not consistent with their self-image. So if you think you suck, I don't care how hard you try and how hard you white-knuckle it for a minute, you're going to go right back to your self-image. Remember that. All right. Here's the thing. You and I, we cannot out-earn the cost of being untrue. Now, I don't mean only lying. I mean not holding to the ethics that we say we believe in, not holding to the value. I talked to somebody yesterday, and I asked them, what's the most important thing to you? And they said, well, my relationship. And yet, as we've had further conversation, expressing excitement and just power about a different thing. And so I wondered, we didn't talk about it, but I wondered, we will, I wondered if that was true. Because the thing that's most important to you is the thing that you'd do anything to save, right? And so we have to be honest with ourselves about what is really most important to us. So remember, we can't outrun our bad attitudes, our lies. We cannot out-earn or outperform the cost of being a phony. Freedom doesn't come from cash. Peace doesn't come from applause. It comes from being whole, W-H-O-L-E, whole, in integrity and consistent. Like you have an idea in your head of what a good person, a dependable, powerful person is. I measure myself against that all the time, and not anymore with judgment, which used to be a big pitfall. I do it now with kindness. Here's where I'm not performing. So as you consider in your life the hidden cost of winning, wherever you're winning, wherever your focus is, what are you willing to trade for that podium? If you want to be on a podium, make no mistake, you have to put in the work and effort. And we all have to do it if we want to feel good about it. It's like athletes that cheat. You know, they live in their whole lives pretending and hoping they're not going to get caught. Perfect example is Lance Armstrong. He won several yellow jerseys in the Tour de France. I think there were 4 or 5 of them. And years later, a big doping scandal and revelation, there was a lot of that going on, so he had them all taken away. Anyone that cheats to get it at a result, whether it's financially or in sports or anything else, and hides it, lives in constant fear of being discovered. It's not worth it. So the hidden cost of winning is a place for us all to focus. I'm inviting you to consider coaching, whether you use me or not. If you'd like to talk about that, there's a contact form, at here, KellanFluckigerMedia.com. KellanFluckigerMedia.com, there's a contact form. Reach out. We can have a convo, see if it's right for you. But my coaching, like me getting a coach and having that help me, has been one of the most powerful and effective things, because we created together a container where I could tell the truth. And then I got encouragement, and I got a real reflection of the excuses I was making and the barriers I was putting up for myself. You know, we get comfortable in our habits, and that doesn't serve us well. Here's something I know about you. I know you're a divine being. I know you're, I say, a child of God. The divine created you and me on purpose with love. I know you have gifts and talents. I know you have the capacity to create anything you want. But it isn't magic, and it takes the work and effort. I can also tell you for sure that it's worth the effort and the energy to create what you want ethically, with truth, weighing the cost and balancing effectively the costs of winning. I know you can win. I know you can win in a powerful and effective way that feels good. And that's what I mean, purpose, prosperity, and joy. Winning with ethics, with balance, with real contentment, because there's nothing in the closet. There's nothing to be worried about or fearful. That's possible. And that kind of behavior, that kind of choice about who we are being in the world is the path to create your ultimate life.
Never hold back and you'll never ask why. Open your heart and this time around.
Right here, right now. Your opportunity for massive growth is right in front of you. Every episode gives you practical tips and practices that will change everything. If you want to know more, go to KellanFluckigerMedia.com. If you want more free tools, go here, YourUltimateLife.ca. Subscribe. Share.
Stand with your heart in the sky and your feet on the ground.